Okay. So Adam Clevenger is here. He is a self-described learner and philanthropist. Adam combines his lifelong commitment to philanthropy and unending pursuit of knowledge to benefit the clients he serves in Indianapolis and throughout the US. Every day, Adam works with various clients representing critical causes such as conservation, LGBTQ2 spirit rights, adult literacy, and more to improve his and other communities. As a volunteer, Adam supports organizations assisting survivors of domestic abuse and hunger relief. And this is where this bio got me in the gut. From the safety of an emergency shelter to being a first-generation college student, Adam experienced firsthand the transformational power of philanthropy in his life, and these experiences fueled his work. So, last year, Adam was an enthusiastic IWITOT attendee, and today he's getting a chance to share an idea that he finds inspiring himself. So from the Broadway stage to the IWITOT stage, Adam is going to talk about Broadway Cares and their unique fundraising ideas. This is a great presentation and the first half of our event today. So Adam, welcome.
I'm coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the Madam Walker Legacy Center, named for the woman who inspired this theater, Madam C.J. Walker. Madam was the first female self-made millionaire in America, an entrepreneur, activist, and philanthropist. I thought it was a fitting place to start telling the story of Broadway Cares. This spring, a friend visiting New York City tagged me in a Facebook post about their experience with giving and volunteering for Broadway Cares' Red Bucket campaign. I got more excited the more I learned about this campaign, and after talking with the Director of Development, Danny Whitman, I found myself thinking, I wish I thought of that. Like so many great fundraising efforts, the Red Bucket campaign started as an idea, a spur-of-the-moment desire to help during a crisis. In the 1980s, when AIDS was ravaging the country, especially the LGBTQ and Broadway communities, Rosemary Prinz and the cast of Steel Magnolias decided to appeal to their audiences to help support people suffering the effects of the disease. Nearly 40 years later, it is easy to forget the stigma that people infected with HIV faced. They experienced family rejection, job loss, hunger, homelessness, and a lack of care. This grassroots movement started with actors holding hats and evolved into the Red Bucket campaign. Before COVID-19, Broadway Cares raised $4 to $6 million a year through 6-week spring and fall appeals. Hundreds of volunteers fan out across New York City every night and twice on Sunday to collect donations that cast members solicit from the stage. The concept is extraordinarily simple, yet complicated in the detail of execution. Facing a volunteer pool not eager to be back in public or in large crowds, Danny developed the idea that first captured my attention. Why not offer donors the opportunity to engage as volunteers? The idea worked and added to the phalanx of volunteers and staff with red buckets. From one cast in one production on one stage, the fundraiser has grown to hundreds of actors in every production on and off Broadway, as well as national touring shows. Funds raised by Broadway Cares continue to support people in and out of the entertainment industry affected by HIV and AIDS. However, last year, Broadway Cares granted over $14 million supporting women's health initiatives, hunger relief, access to affordable health insurance, addiction treatment and recovery services, pandemic relief assistance, and so much more. Now, I know what you're saying. That's great, Adam, but I don't have a theater industrial complex supporting my fundraising efforts. So what can you glean from the Red Bucket campaign to assist your fundraising efforts? A couple of crucial components stuck out to me: the power of crowdsourced fundraising, consistency and evolution, and a donor engagement through volunteerism. How can one donor really make a difference with problems as enormous as HIV/AIDS or COVID-19? Crowdsourced fundraising is collective action at its finest. Broadway Cares has created a movement, pooling together donations from several donors united in a common cause can profoundly impact that cause. Statistia, the German marketing and advertising research firm, found that crowdsourcing has been steadily rising in North America to reach $17.2 billion last year. So whether you incorporate giving circles, door-to-door solicitation, point of sale giving, or social media campaigns, crowdsourcing harnesses donors' desires to be part of a community and maximize their gifts. It's human nature to hear a successful idea and think, I could do that. I call this the Pollock effect. You see paint dripped and smeared on a canvas, and you think to yourself, how hard could that be? However, like all successful fundraising activities, the Red Bucket campaign took 3 decades to build to what we're discussing today. Don't accept the first try, or more importantly, the first failure. Creative ideas like QR codes on the buckets directing donors to thank you videos couldn't even possibly have been imagined in the 1980s, but they are relevant today. What starts with a flicker of an idea turns into a movement through repetition, questioning, learning, and adapting. Ideas that stay static die. Ideas that evolve, they change lives. Finally, I geek out on stewardship. And obviously, my friends know this about me because, heck, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for a friend sharing their experience with me. But why is asking a donor to volunteer considered stewardship? It gives the donor a unique experience, gives them a behind-the-curtain look at the operations. It deepens their understanding of the organization and connects them to a community that they feel a part of. What's more, and this is why I really enjoy great fundraisers like Danny, he and his team use the opportunity to work alongside some of their best donors to get to know them better and build stronger relationships. So folks, don't miss your shot. Defy gravity with your fundraising by working 9 to 5 every day to create community, evolve, and steward. And if you do, you won't have to wait 525,600 minutes for the next, I wish I thought of that.
Wow.
I wanted to sing those songs. You don't want to hear me sing, but I'm not going to do it. But I love that.
I mean, talk about putting mission to motion and really just centering a concept that has stood the test of time, literally decade over decade. And I think Adam did a fantastic job denoting why he wishes he would have thought of that. What do you think, Kimberly? What stood out for you?
Well, what really stood out for me is the very important point that, this misconception that, they've already donated, we can't ask them to volunteer. Your donors are your very best volunteers, and what a wonderful way to draw them in. And I think about recruitment for board positions and so many ways that just asking people to hold a bucket in theater can be transformative for that relationship. So I loved that. Loved it.
Wow. Well, I want to hear more about not only what we've learned, but I think Adam might be able to tell us a little bit more about what's actually going on, as in like the latest statistics and the latest measures of success. So how about we bring Adam on to talk to us a little bit more about the quantifiable impact and to shed insight into why this idea resonated with him. Adam, welcome.
To be with you. I great to show the view if we can't be on the stage, right? But
So we're just going to make sure that we've got adequate technology connections here. And we're going to pop out and pop right back in, just channeling our inner thespians to make sure we're exactly where we need to be. Lights, camera, action.
Is that better? Are we back?
We're warming up. We're warming up.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
people are singing in the chat, Tysley. People are singing. I know Sarah, one of our sponsors, is probably singing to some of those Broadway songs. And I think Lacey mentioned that she was also singing. I would love to know, Phuc, that's how I would pronounce that name. Do you think that I've got that?
Yes.
Phuc has asked, Adam, say something. Testing.
Say something, Kimberly, Tysley.
Yes, you're
okay. So we do have a question for you, but Tysley, I think you had a question first, and then we'll go to some of the chat questions.
Sure. Well, I want to yield to those in our audience who are viewing. So Adam, I'll come back to my question towards the end.
That sounds great.
And we want to just start. We've got lots of questions rolling in, so we're going to try to get as many of them out as possible. First of all, this was a fabulous case study. They really, really appreciated and loved it. But we are interested in knowing a little bit more about the idea of putting the QR codes on the buckets that led to donors in a thank you video. Can you share a little bit about, how that's going, or maybe what inspired that?
Sure, absolutely. Obviously, there's been a rise in the use of videos in solicitation and, more importantly, in stewardship activities. So Danny Whitman, the Director of Development for Broadway Cares, came up with the idea because obviously people became more comfortable with QR codes, became more comfortable with videos. And it was a great way to, as someone was putting in a donation into the bucket, they could use their phone to get that immediate thank you. We as good fundraisers, we know the importance of connecting that donor to that immediate thank you. And they really accomplished it right then and there. And that use of technology, as I said, wouldn't have even been thought of 40 years ago, much, and maybe not even 2 years ago. But the pandemic has definitely increased our use of technology in these ways.
Yeah. I remember when QR codes first came out and they were putting them in subway stations where there was no Wi-Fi. I think we've learned as a society how to use them to our advantage, which is another great thing the last few years has taught us. So, and who carries cash, right? So it's a wonderful way to get over that. Lacey asked a question. Did you have any feedback from donors or volunteers on this program?
Well, I would refer to folks to Broadway Cares and reach out to staff for some of those specific questions and feedback. What I learned, and I highlighted two of my friends who actually, took the picture of them as donors and volunteers holding those buckets. And so I got to hear from their perspective that that experience of being able to engage with their community, people that they've never met, obviously, that, they were visiting New York City, but a part of their sort of adopted community as a theater, as a Broadway community, and to not only ask and be there to receive gifts, but even more importantly, to say thank you. And they just really loved that experience. And so much so, that's why they tagged me on the Facebook post about that, because they wanted to share their excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, speaking of sharing excitement, I think you have some exciting news to share with all of us as it pertains to how well the activation is going. So, you mind giving us some inside tips on what's going on, what they're measuring, and how well they're performing against expectations?
Absolutely. Drum roll, please. Just less than an hour ago, they posted on social media that they wrapped their spring appeal and raised over $4.2 million in the last 6 weeks. As I mentioned, that is every on and off Broadway performance, as well as their national Broadway Across America tour, raising that. Now, here's the power of the theater and the people who go, and of course the actors on the stage and all the folks behind stage that make it possible. The Music Man cast, of course, featuring just blanked on the actor's name, but
was it Hugh Jackman was in it?
It was Hugh Jackman. Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. Music Man raised over $2 million at their shows in the last 6 weeks alone. So pretty phenomenal results there. But they're doing all the yeah, exactly. So they're tracking all the same metrics, and of course, the Red Bucket Challenge is just one activity, one tactic of a larger development process, including major gifts and corporate and foundation support as well.
Excellent. Well, Adam, thank you so much. This has been great and fantastic. And we appreciate you centering this great work. And I tell you, it gives a new meaning to Red Buckets for sure. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson, and thank you, Kimberly. Great to be with you on stage here.
Great to see you, Adam, as always.
Take care.